I'd like to call to order the regular 7 o'clock Board of Education meeting, May 13th, 2025. If you could please stand for a moment of silence and pledge of allegiance with Mr. Scott Ryder.
Good evening, everybody in attendance and watching online. Since we've last broadcasted a Board of Education meeting, a local businessman recently passed away unexpectedly and tragically. So many hearts broke hearing this news. A young man with a young family gone too soon. I bring this up from the school board dais for two reasons. We, Enfield Public Schools, have a strong and ongoing connection between our schools and that man's extended family, who we consider a part of our family. Randy, we all know how much you've helped our schools because your children and grandchildren have or will soon attend Enfield's public schools. To you and your family, we are truly sorry for your loss. We are asking you this time to reach out to us if there's anything that we can do for your family, as you've done so much for us. Secondly, I want to highlight how good Enfield can actually be. The amount of social media posts, prayers, donations, offers to help, so many businesses and individuals offering to fundraise for a family who's now moving forward without Mr. Martinez. This is what Enfield could be more of the time. I'd like to say we, hope to see more of this spirit without the reason that we're sending our thoughts and prayers to you tonight. Here in Enfield, please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. Now for our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Bless you. Okay, fire evacuation announcement. In the unlikely event of a fire, you can exit out the back doors of the chambers and out to the parking lot, or the side doors over here, first left down the stairway and out to the parking lot. Kathy, can I have roll call, please?
Mr. Ryder?
Here.
Mrs. Acree?
Here.
Dr. Kalnin?
Here.
Mrs. Cushman?
Here.
Mr. Gauss?
Here.
Mr. Kober?
Here.
Mrs. LeBlanc?
Here.
Mrs. Pickett?
Here.
Chairwoman Riley?
Here. Okay. Number 6, board guests, Enfield High School Culinary Program.
Yeah, we're pleased to welcome Chef O, Josh Ogrodowski, to tonight's meeting. He's going to introduce, he has one of his students with us, and he's informed me that he has a couple more students on the way. And obviously they're a little bit late, but they are on the way. And he's going to take us through the Enfield High School Culinary Program and all the wonderful things that they're doing. And I'm not just talking about the food that he has brought with him.
Yeah, so we did bring some mango sticky rice wontons tonight for you guys to try. But I know you guys are on the mic, so maybe after. But yeah, so I have with me Ethan Serrard. So you probably know Eric Serrard. He went through our program. Ethan also has gone through our program too, and he is actually a state champ. And this is Colton and Eiley, and they're here as well. So you guys can scoot up if you want. So basically, I just want to talk about how amazing these students have worked this year because of all the cutbacks and stuff. But they put their best foot forward, and they worked with the resources that we've had. And we actually won a state championship. So we're here to boast about that a little bit. And it was a lot of work. We started, just like, I don't know if you guys know anything about cooking, but obviously it starts with an idea, right? And just that. And so this is called ideation. So they take their idea and then they try to transform it onto the plate and how it should look. And then also, we kind of moved around a little bit to different ideas, with, we started with like a weird like noodle dish with like beef chopped up, and then it moved into like this really cool looking beef tataki, and then we have like a matcha aioli with it with some gochujang ramen. And then we had, I don't know, what we start with your dish? We had spring rolls. Spring rolls, right? Fried spring rolls, and they never turned out right. And then we moved into like this lobster spring roll, which is fantastic. And then for dessert, we kept on trying a flan. The flan did not work. So you know, with cooking, you know, sometimes you have some good things and you have some bad things, and we learned from that, and we brought it to the judges in March, and we won. So we were pretty excited about that. So after we won the state championship, we moved on to the national championship, which is in Baltimore, which was last week, and we showed up. We had some setbacks. There was some drama going on, but we brought some replacements, and we basically showed up, and we got 29th out of 47 states. So, I mean, it's not the greatest, but it's good. So, we wanted first, but we got 29th. So, but we took it with a grain of salt. No pun intended there. And, you know, the judges were kind of hot and cold. They liked the dish, but they don't like the, you know, I don't know. It's the judges. So, you know, so it could be kind of finicky.
Opinions and interpretation.
Yeah.
Okay.
But these guys, you know, went through the trenches. So they did the Disney competition as well. So we got, I think, 38th out of 87 schools. So, or 87 teams. So it was pretty good too. And then that one's more like a chopped competition. So they got to explore the parks. And I don't know, you guys want to talk? I'm talking a lot.
Go ahead.
But we're really proud to have these guys compete. And obviously with our resources this year, we tried to get as much practice in as we could. But you know, we kind of worked through it, and I'm just kind of proud to demonstrate that for you guys and tell you more about that. And our culinary classes are going really well as well. And these guys are, you know, doing a lot for the school and representing Enfield High School. So just thanks to all the administration that's been supporting us and you guys as well, and pushing for better resources for our schools. So appreciate it.
And thank you to Chef as well, because
All right.
obviously without him, none of us would be where we are. Honestly, last year I was so anti-culinary. I wasn't going to do anything with it. Eric, my brother, was like, Ethan, you got to go into it. I said, no way. I'm a theater kid. That's what I do. And then I walked into his classroom one day and he said, Ethan, you're on ProStart. I said, I am? He said, yep. I said, okay. And so then, yeah, we just kind of just went from there. I mean, you know, like he said, trial and error. We tried so many different things. Like with the flan, for example, we changed it the week before the competition to our mango sticky rice wontongs, and we won. So, yeah, it's been a ride that I didn't think I would be on, but I'm so happy that I have. And we have had a lot of hiccups, a lot of major ones as well, like especially at nationals. But, you know, we overcame it. We tried our best. We put our best foot forward. Eiley stepped up. She's our manager. She learned how to make half of the entree with me in a hotel room.
We overcame some adversity, so
Yeah, we tried to make ramen in a Keurig. That didn't go very well.
It does not work like it says it does on YouTube. It's disappointing.
So no, but it's been a blast, and it's definitely something that I'm going to keep with me for the rest of my life, and something I can rub in Eric's face as well that I won and he didn't. So
yeah, Eric has done it for a couple of years, and we kind of fell short with that. But yeah, so do you guys have any questions for us, or?
Mr. Ryder?
So just quickly, congratulations on your success. But I also wanted to thank you for what you do for our community. I know that we've worked together. You've helped cater some breakfasts, some townwide events. You've done some things at Nantucket, the Senior Center. I know that you are cooking for us on Thursday for the PLA graduation through Kite. So thank you for that as well. But it's things like that where you're able to do something and bring it outside the classroom, where we, as business people in the community, or whatever our ties are, that we're able to kind of brag about you guys and bring you out and have you do these things is really great. I know that you won't be able to do that in the summer months, obviously with school out of session, but if there's anything that you need our help with as far as letting businesses know that you do that on occasion. I know you can't do that every week. You don't work for that reason, but if that helps you at all, please keep in touch and let us know.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I think showcasing student work is very important, and it's always good to see, how our students are progressing too. Yeah.
I agree, and it's something that translates too. Like you can't have like the math club come over and show us some good math, although that would be interesting. But to bring somebody actual treats that they can consume, I think it's a great connection, and it also lets our community know that you guys are there and doing what you're doing, and that great program that you have. So,
Awesome. Yeah, appreciate it.
thank you, Shefo.
Yeah.
Ms. Luck?
So I'm listening to you guys talk, and I've been a townie my whole life. And back when it was Enrico Fermi, they used to have something called Cafe Rendezvous,
Yeah.
which translate into what you guys do. And you could go, and you could, for like, I can't remember, in the 90s, you could go to school early. Maybe it was 2:25, and they would cook you breakfast. And they all wore jackets, like the shiny jackets that were like cool back in the 90s, not chef jackets.
Probably the chef toques. Yeah.
And it was a really big thing. And then that kind of all went away. And then when the high schools combined, and then the culinary program really took off, and you guys just keep going every year. And I love what you guys do, and that you are being utilized for, like Scott said, community events. You know, because you can come to the community. I do want to say to Ethan, I was lucky enough to serve on the board with your dad. And listening to you talk, you remind me an awful lot of your dad. Your personality, your laugh, and your mannerisms. You really do remind me of your dad, and that's a good thing, because I was very lucky to serve with him, and he always made me laugh. And he was the chair when I was on the board, and we didn't always agree, but we got along really well. So that's important. But thank you guys again for coming out. Congratulations on your win. It's always good for the younger brother to have that bragging right for the older brother. I have it in my family. I'm always the underdog. So congratulations to all of you in the culinary program and working through adversity and your creativity. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Just a quick thank you for being here. Obviously, Chefo, I know you personally, so I know a lot of the work that you do with the kiddos, and I just want to second some of the things that Scott said. The support of the culinary program and the student work being showcased in our community, I think, is really important. So yes to all those community events. I know the 4th of July, like kids event you're at, like you're always out there. You're at Heritage Fair. So I appreciate seeing the students out there and the opportunity to showcase your work. So those partnerships, I think, really matter. And I appreciate you for capitalizing on those.
Yeah.
Congrats on state championship and our lesson tonight on perseverance, that if things don't work, you just keep trying and you adjust and you adapt and keep moving. I do have 2 questions. One is for the students. Are any of you pursuing culinary programming after high school?
Nope.
He wants to become a lawyer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Physical therapist? Athletic trainer.
Exercise science field.
Yeah.
How has what you've learned in your culinary program impacted you?
For me personally, I am very nervous about change and doing other things, and doing culinary with Chef was a really big change for me because I had never cooked before I showed up into his classroom, and now I'm being thrown into nationals and other things. So it's helped me. It's helped me a lot with learning how to just roll with things. And if something doesn't work, you have to figure it out and persevere and, like you said, move on and adapt. So that's really helpful with me going off to college this year.
Perfect.
I think that for me, it just kind of gave me something else to look forward to because, like I said, I'd been full theater my entire life, and I had never really done anything else outside of that. And so then, when I got thrown into this, it gave me like another passion, and it made me explore other fields. I mean, from that, this kind of helped me set forth on the fact that I wanted to be a lawyer. Just because it just made something click in my brain. I can't really explain it. It just kind of happened. And now I know how Eric feels because same thing happened with him, and now he's culinary crazy. Especially just the environment specifically that Chef creates in his classrooms. It's welcoming. It just makes you feel good about yourself to be in there. I mean, even if you're having a really, really off day or a really bad day, being in his classroom with everybody else is just. It makes you feel special, almost like you feel like you really, really belong, no matter how you're feeling. So it's really great.
Thanks, man.
You're welcome.
Colton?
So my dad's worked in restaurants and kitchens his whole life, so I've kind of grown up with that, but we've never done this aspect of cooking. It's mass production, it's stuff like that. So taking it to this level where it has to be perfect, it has to be plated right, it has to be that, it's put a different perspective on it that I like, and it's different, and I'm a perfectionist. So stuff messes up, I get frustrated, but this has really helped me learn to I have to keep my calm. In sports, I'll get really mad if I'm not having a good day. But here, I can't just blow up. So
Teammates are counting on you.
my teammates are counting on me. Judges are watching. Everybody's looking. Everybody's counting on you. You have to be level-headed. So it's really helped me learn to keep a level head when stuff doesn't go my way. Like at nationals, my sauce for some reason just wouldn't work. It wouldn't thicken like it's supposed to. So I just had to. I took a minute. I breathed. I dumped the sauce. I made a new sauce that kind of worked. It didn't fully work, but it worked.
Awesome. So thank you. Those were my two questions. And I think what you just all did was demonstrate that it's not just about taking culinary classes to maybe become a chef someday, but the life skills that it teaches, the community that you're building in your classroom, and the opportunities that it provides is really important. So thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Dacre?
Thank you, Chef O, for all you do for the students at Enfield High. I want to congratulate Ethan, and I would like to congratulate all of you for the state championship wins. And I'm looking for, I was going to say, hopefully I would see one of you three on television, but I guess not. But I am looking forward to tasting your dish.
Oh, yeah, nice.
So thank
We
you.
have it in the back here. So.
Oh, okay. And congratulations to you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And I appreciate your leadership, Chef O, and
thanks.
all the great culinary skills that you're passing on to the students. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Anybody else? Okay. So I just want to say thank you very much for coming. You guys are an amazing group of kids and an amazing educator. The only question that I have for my own good, but then also for the community good, is like how many, I don't want to say hours, but maybe like how many hours do you put in outside of school?
Don't even get me started.
For this competition.
See?
Are you talking about meditating on the recipe and like coming up with your own
like the whole
hours?
thing, hours,
So
yeah.
many.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like in
So-
the kitchen cooking and planning
So many.
together, yeah?
So many. So like,
It's have to be over 1,000.
yeah, like for me, for example, I don't have a fourth period anymore
Yeah.
on A days. So I could go home early. Instead, I chose to sit there for 2 hours every single day in his room, coming up with everything. I watched at least 20 MasterChef specials on different cuisines, trying to come up with stuff. It's kind of consumed my life a little bit. Should I be focused on some other things? Sure. But no, I mean, I found like a random passion just for sitting there watching stuff, coming up with stuff. I found the most obscure videos on the planet coming up with things. And then, I mean, it paid off.
Yeah.
We got a state championship under our belts, so.
Yeah, it takes a lot of practice, a lot of teamwork and building, and moving forward with our recipes and making sure that they're looking good for the judges. So
Yep. And you're working on this all year round.
September through
Yep.
this past weekend,
Yeah.
we just had our national competitions.
Yep.
And then we're working on it for our next year too.
Yeah, so I saw
You
how
just started
much
working
work-
on it for next year.
There
I
we
saw
go.
how much work Ethan put in. As with me being the only junior on the team that's going and continuing with this next year, I realized how much work I have to put into this. So I've already started working. I've already figured out our menu for next year. So
Oh,
we can
yeah.
start getting recipes down, start working on plating, start figuring out how to make it a state championship dinner
Yeah.
winner, and then try and get higher in nationals.
Awesome.
And even with all the hours we put in, it's fun to be there. Like, I want to be in Chef's Room and I want to be doing this. Since like last year, I would stay after and help Chef cook for other things just because it was so interesting and such a fun place to be in, helping out cook for, like, what do you do?
All the caterings for
Yeah.
the schools and
So
Stowe.
I'd
We
stay
do
after
caterings
and
for
help.
Stowe. We do stuff for Loaves and Fishes. Yeah, all the community schools
lot, yeah.
and
So just helping out. It gives you like
organizations.
something else to like, one, put on your college resumes, and two, it just makes you feel like a part of something bigger and like you're helping out. So that's a lot of fun.
NHS hours.
I needed those.
Yeah, we do a lot for this, for not only Pro Start and our competitions, but for the community. And I think that's important to have as part of our programs, is making sure we have outreach to the community too. And I mean, there's a lot of programs that are doing the same. So like we have an auto show going on tonight. We're cooking for that. And they have a bunch of community people there too. So I think it's always good to have community events
Definitely.
like that. So.
Yes. Well, you kids are amazing. Mr. Sheffel, you're amazing. And let me tell you, those pictures that we got of your food, like I said before, they were like Michelin star stuff. Because let me tell you,
We had
For the record, I did invite everybody. And you saw that nobody wanted to join me. I had to eat it all myself. It was
He
excellent.
tried all the food and he gave us a thumbs up. So.
I did, yep. And Chef was nice enough to give me some extras to bring home to my wife, which she thoroughly enjoyed after the board meeting.
Yep.
So.
And we have some mango sticky rice wontons for you guys to try.
Awesome.
So.
Thank you. Well, we're very proud of you guys, and I know that your parents are proud of you. Thank you for everything.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you for coming out, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Macchio, superintendent's report. I know we got to get some ladies.
Yes, we're going to start with the student reps, and I believe they have their final AP test tomorrow, so we're going to let them release immediately after this, and not just because they've come straight from practice.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. So like Mr. Macchio said, we've got our AP exams finishing up this week. So we've just got to finish those, and then we're finally done with those. We also have our final exam schedule that's been released. It should be on Outlook, but there's a separate schedule for seniors and then underclassmen. So seniors are taking theirs a little bit early. We also have class night and class picnic coming up. So for seniors, make sure that you have your permission slips done. They're due May 21st, so I would grab your tickets. The dates are, it was today, May 15th, the 21st, and the 21st. It's going to be in the lower lobby, and it's going to be cash only. So I want to put that out there, because for prom, people were doing Venmo, and we can only do cash for this one. And speaking of prom, we have it on May 23rd, so hopefully everyone's ready for that. And then we also have May 21st, our student-teacher stress panel about mental health. And June 4th, we have our awards night. Those who are getting awards will get an email by around the end of this week, so to have a look out for those. I believe also NHS we're doing bibs on those days too for seniors. And then I'll give it to Liv, and then I'll come back because I have another comment to say.
So yeah, I have a couple things to mention, and then we'll bring it back to Izzy. But tonight, as Culinary mentioned, there is the Cardo Car Show tonight from 5 to 8 p.m., so that's going on right now. There's a chorus concert this Thursday at Enfield High at 6:30. The class of 2027 is having a can drive at the lower lot near the athletic fields from 9 to 1 p.m. this Saturday. Tri-M Music Honor Society is having a coffee house and a talent show next Thursday. I don't know a whole lot about that, but they do have a flyer posted around the schools. And Enfield High actually won a contest. We won free food from Chick-fil-A for students and teachers. And students, I know you guys are wondering when you guys are going to get yours, but next Wednesday during mentoring block, you guys will be getting your gift cards. And finally, to start off the GSA news, GSA has been supporting AAPI this month, which is the American Asian Pacific Islander group, because it's their Heritage Month, and I'll let Izzy continue on with that.
Okay. So around this time, GSA should be starting to do their lavender graduation. For those that are unfamiliar, GSA is our Gay Straight Alliance at Enfield High School. A lavender ceremony is basically like a senior night for people that are in that group. However, I wanted to note that due to budget cuts, it was a little bit harder to have the lavender graduation this year. 85% of GSA members are not out at home and therefore can't attend after-school clubs and events. The loss of Eagle Block has greatly affected that group. They're unable to do a lot of the stuff that they have to do. It was typically held during Eagle Block, and now during Ms. Catuccio, who runs the group, she has to do it during her free period or a lunch period to avoid students missing critical class time. And I wanted to point that out, that that's one of our major losses, that certain clubs are unable to have meetings and have these opportunities like lavender graduation, which has been happening for years. And that's a great loss for a lot of our students.
Thanks, Izzy.
You ladies all set?
All right, go
All right.
study.
Thanks for coming. Good luck tomorrow.
Good luck.
You too. All right, a couple of just reminders. JFK Grade 8 Awards Ceremony is going to be held on Wednesday, May 14th, 6 o'clock in the JFK Auditorium. There is a potential quorum that will be held, and we've sent it downtown, so you should have that in your packet. PLA graduation, Parent Leadership Academy, class number 18, held Thursday, May 15th, 6 o'clock in the high school cafeteria. And the same thing in terms of quorum agenda. Early release day for staff professional learning for all of Enfield Public School students are going to be dismissed early with lunch on Wednesday. That's an old one, Kath. It says April 30th. Yep. What's the date? Do we recall?
May 21st.
May 21st. Thank you. Like Ron Burgundy, I just read what's in front of me. So May 21st for early release. Obviously, Memorial Day, no school on Monday the 26th. You have an invitation to attend the Memorial Day Parade that's held on Sunday the 25th. Parade starts at 1 o'clock from Our Lady of Angels campus and will end at the Enfield Town Hall. And in terms of the public schools update, a couple of different items. First of all, pre-referendum staff input sessions. We've completed 4 of them to date. So I do want to thank all the staff that have come out and provided some open, honest input and feedback regarding the whole pre-referendum concept and what they're looking for in terms of the schools when and if we're able to either build new or renovate as new. I do have one more that's going to happen this week. I think that's going to be our 3rd one that's held this week. We've got 2 more scheduled the week after and another one the week after that, so that we just keep rolling through. You'll see in your Friday update as I've begun to put that together already. I anticipate we're going to be probably over 75 staff members that have stayed by the time you get your Friday update. So in terms of the number of sessions that we held, staff have been outstanding. They've really come out and stayed and really participated in the event. So that's nice. And just a reminder for everybody, June 3rd, we're going to have a share out where we will consolidate all of the information. They are very similar. It's almost like Groundhog Day when we meet, but every once in a while there's a little nugget that's a little different in one school than in another, so we add that into the feedback. Number 2, congratulations. I need to give some congratulations to the 30 girls that went out to Bloomfield, the Cigna campus, for Girls on the Run. I took some time when I was running my errands on Saturday, and I pulled up to the Bloomfield. I could not believe the number of people that were there. We had a large group of girls, 30. Like I said, 3 tables worth of kids. They felt the need to bedazzle their superintendent with some gemstones. I did not participate in the race, I will tell you that, in terms of the 5K, but I've sort of received a challenge to do so next year. But kids were having a great time. It was outstanding to see everybody and the camaraderie that they had for each other, as well as the parents, a number of parents that were running with the kids as well. Secondary student focus groups. I've mentioned this in the past. We're sort of pulling together a variety of different students in terms of receiving some input and perspective from them. And it's going to be a wide variety of kids that we're going to have. I have one session set up at the high school. I have another session set up at JFK. And then we're going to see where we're going to go from there, whether or not we want to do additional sessions with the same kids or with new kids, but that's going to be scheduled for next week. One's on the 20th, the other one on the 22nd. And again, the idea of this is to get more input from the kids so that we can incorporate it into the district improvement plan. And I'm really interested in the culture and climate section. I mean, not just the teaching and learning, but the culture and climate piece, and hearing from the kids in terms of what they feel as though we need to include with that. Lastly, budget. For those who weren't able to watch the town council meeting last evening, the budget was officially approved at the 4.02%. Basically, it was approved in the exact same fashion that the community received my letter from last week. So 4.02% was the approval. However, a little over 1.44 million of that is pulled out because of the anticipated shift in alliance funding if the legislation goes through. So it's actually a 2.15% appropriation increase with the separate 1.44 that would come directly from the state of Connecticut. On record, last evening, the mayor did mention that if that did not come through, if that legislation did not pass, that the town would be, if the legislation doesn't go through, the town receives the full ECS, which means it would include the additional 1.44 million as part of the town appropriation of ECS. So then that would get shifted over to us. So the Board of Education will be receiving 4.02% as compared to this year's appropriation. There was also some very confusing information, last-minute information that came about last night. So just to clarify for everybody who may have been listening, we did send down our prepayment for the MOU. So our first payment has been sent down to the town. $332,726.60 is our first payment. So that check was delivered yesterday. I then received word that the mayor was asking for he was planning on using a portion of that for some nonprofits to receive some funding, and then the balance to be reappropriated, I guess would be the way to say this, back to the Board of Education. So next Monday, there potentially will be a town council meeting where your 4.02% funding percent increase may be shifted a little bit, little over $230,000 in addition to where we were at. So again, it was a quick change move that we found out about yesterday. Always welcome to receive additional appropriation for the Board of Education. As you know, right now what we're going through from the cabinet side is looking at every single way that we can maintain as many of those staff members as we can that were in the budget. So if we receive a little more money, then that's more staff members that we are able to hold on to. And I think that is everything for me.
Thank you, Mr. Macchio. All right, moving on to audiences. All right, Maureen Griffin.
I don't know. You'll hear.
Okay, Maureen, go for it.
Maureen Griffin, Abbey Road. How do we move from good intentions to effective change? Martin Luther King said in the letter from Birmingham jail that shallow understanding from people of goodwill is more frustrating than absolute misunderstanding from people of ill will. The goodwill is vast among the adults in our district, but our understanding of the challenges and climate that the students encounter in our buildings is shallow. Trainings are designed to be palatable to those in the audience, not to stir discomfort and deep reflection. Leadership, starting with you guys, Steve and Andy, needs the humility to accept that neither you nor I nor anyone up there are the experts on how the marginalization of many of our kids presents itself. You need the fortitude to sit in discomfort and listen to the voices of our youth. Listen to hear, not to formulate responses. You need to build trust that your efforts will bear good fruit, not simply be yet another dog and pony show that just results in updates to the exterior. Ask the kids how they feel, what they see and hear, and zip your lips as they speak. Reflect on their words for a few days. Then write out what you heard them say, what you understood them to be saying. Then hand that back to the kids when you have written it out and ask them, did I understand what you said? Only then will they, when they have confirmed to you that you have actually heard their message, will you be at a place to ask them any questions. Do not presume to know what changes they would consider most important. Ask them. Once you have gotten a deeper understanding, it is time for leadership. Leadership that challenges those with power in our buildings to also sit in discomfort and to be open to student input and invite student creativity in improving the climate. Again, do not presume to know what would be most impactful. This is truly a hard thing to do, especially when you care and have been trying to support our kids and improve the school culture. It's hard to hear where one has missed the mark, or worse still, inadvertently made things worse and more difficult. But it must happen for real progress to be made. Months have been spent doing the necessary budget work. Now is the time to see, hear, and value those for whom all that work was ultimately done for.
Thanks, Maureen. Okay, that's all on the list. Next is board member comments. Who would like to go first? Anybody? Ms. Pickett?
All right, I'm going to start with a few budget comments and then move on to a couple other comments that I have. First, I want to thank Izzy. I know she's not here, but I appreciate her pointing out that it's not just line items in our budget. We can add back money for clubs, but if our schedule doesn't support it and allow students to access them, then it's actually not that beneficial of an investment. So I think that is just something for us to consider. I thank you, Steve, for your letter and the comments that you just made. I think it's important for me to be clear with our community. Alliance funds should not be held hostage by our town. The point of Alliance funding is additional dollars for Enfield Public Schools and for our town to step up and fully fund education. The town should be accurately budgeting for ECS on their side of the budget and not playing with our budget ask. We included the full ECS amount in our proposal, and the budget that they passed last night doesn't provide what we asked for. I do formally want to thank the Democratic Town Council members for their support of EPS last night. A Republican councilor made a comment that she holds a duty to the 3,851 voters that voted for her. Well, I hold a duty to the 4,694-ish or more students enrolled in our public schools who can't vote, but actually matter the most. They are our community's future. They deserve to be prioritized. I, unlike her, don't sit here for a popularity contest and understand that the decisions that I make impact way more than just the voters that voted for me. We have a community of over 45,000 diverse residents with many common town-provided supports that we all depend on. It was clear during budget deliberations, if that's what you want to call them, and in last night's vote that the Town Council Republicans do not prioritize our students, our families, or our most vulnerable residents. Their words and their actions don't align, which leads to continued neglect for our kids and their continued long-term strategy of kicking the can. If this community wants investment in our students and schools, you need to stay engaged and you need to promise to vote in November. Because let's be honest, that's when the budget priorities are set. I do want to address some overall safety concerns that I have, that I continue to have. This isn't anything new that I'm mentioning. Today, as a Parkman parent, I received a secure the school notification. Last week, it was a scary fight after school at JFK. I don't know the details of these situations, but what I do know is that there are students with complex needs and schools with limited resources and supports. And the reduced budget that the Town Council just approved doesn't add any classroom behavioral resources or supports to our schools. Our mayor may say that he cares so much about school safety. Well, guess what? It's our kids who need the support. The threat isn't from the outside. It's our own kiddos crying out for help, with real needs from all of the neighborhoods in Enfield, not just one. We need social workers, we need smaller classes, we need transitional spaces, none of which are included in this budget. Well, maybe hopefully smaller classes. Not small enough. I'm unsure what will be included in our strategic plans about this issue, but I am hoping to better understand how we're solving this issue long term. I thank you, Steve, for your patience with me as I continuously ask about our safety protocols and plans. I know that it's almost an impossible job to create a plan with inadequate resources and a complicated structure and design as well. I will add that I appreciate your follow-up to my request for any matter related to the Board of Ed to be discussed in Joint Security, a committee that we have representation on. I appreciate that Councilman Ludwig agreed that school security and safety matters should not be discussed in public safety, but instead in only Joint Security. Another inadequate resource topic is STOW. I'm incredibly frustrated that our integrated classrooms are being moved to Enfield Street School for next year. Jacqueline Valley and all the staff at STOW have worked really hard to create a unified and effective preschool model. Not only is it best for kids, but it's also cost effective. We have centralized services, transportation, and a community is built and fostered. Because of a town decision, Integrated will be moved to Enfield Street School. Again, nothing wrong with Enfield Street School. That is my children's home school. However, that school is not designed for our high-need preschoolers. Playground space, bathrooms, support staff. I'm just beyond frustrated that this is yet another example of school programming coming to the backseat to a town space. I do want to end tonight on a glimmer. Our students and our staff. I'm not praising their resilience. We actually shouldn't be asking any of them to show us how resilient they can be. I'm praising their humanity, who they are as people. Every day I interact with Enfield Public School staff and students, and it's honestly some of the best parts of my day. That's why I fight so hard, and that's why I remain committed to long-term investment and supports for Enfield Public Schools. That's all I have for tonight. Please stay engaged.
Okay, who'd like to go next? Mr. Kober.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So it's hard to believe the end of the school year is quickly approaching. At this point, we have less school days than there are letters left in the alphabet. I do want to point out that May is also Mental Health Awareness Month. This offers a great opportunity to check your mental well-being, look for resources to minimize worry, effectively manage stress, reclaim your joy, and practice resiliency. Moreover, it's a good time to support one another. Walking through a school recently, I saw a sign that said, "Be a buddy, not a bully." As was already mentioned, Town Council recently approved our appropriation for the next fiscal year. So given that this amount did not align with the board's approved budget back in February, I look forward to our superintendent proposing his revised budget to us at our next meeting, and I trust that the board will fully evaluate our needs going into the next year. Incorporating my practice of a quote, this is from the Roman philosopher Seneca: "It is the quality rather than the quantity that matters." And I'll save the majority of my other comments for agenda items as they come up. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kober. Would like to go next? Anybody? Mr. Ryder?
So Superintendent Macchio mentioned this, but tomorrow night is the Grade 8 Awards ceremony. I'll be there with my 8th grade JFK student. So congratulations to all the 8th graders heading off to the high school in the fall, and good luck to each of you. I also wanted, again, Dr. Callan mentioned this at our last meeting, but I also wanted to thank Brianna Beckstrand for all of her leadership at Kite over the last few years. Good luck on your next chapter, and thank you for everything you did for Enfield schools, the town, and for Kite specifically. Also, I have a townwide note to share. So this Saturday is the Enfield Townwide Tag Sale. We have 125 addresses registered on the map this year. So I have a copy of what the map looks like. Look at that, right this way. There we go. So this map, of course, is available at enfieldpto.com/ETWTS, Enfield Townwide Tag Sale in letters. So enfieldpto.com/ETWTS. So if you want to download and print your own copies of the maps, you may do so. If you don't have access to a printer and you'd like to pick up a paper copy of the maps to go shopping this weekend and support the Enfield Food Shelf, as all registered tag sales made a donation to the Enfield Food Shelf to be part of the map, part of the program. You can pick up paper copies. I dropped paper copies off today at both libraries on Middle Road as well as Pearl Street, and we also dropped off paper copies at Standout Nutrition in Hazardville. So I want to thank those 3 places for offering to be paper map pickup spots. And I think that is all for this section. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Blake?
Just a couple things. I also wanted to extend my sincere condolences to the Martinez family and the Daigle family. One of the things I can share about Josh Martinez is when he began cutting hair as a barber. He worked at a barber shop that my sons went to, and we could never get in because the barber shop did not take appointments, and you would go and you would wait sometimes 2 to 3 hours just to have Josh cut your hair because he could cut, your number in your hair. So he was this up and coming, really cool barber. And then I remember when he opened his first barber shop, my boys went to a barber that followed him, and then ultimately are still at the barber shop. So a true Enfield success story, a very sad story, but to watch the community come together for the family is amazing to somebody that gave to the community. So again, my sincerest condolences and sympathies to the family. I wanted to follow up on the Enfield High bathrooms that both Olivia and Izzy had mentioned 2 weeks ago, because I also understand we're having issues with the JFK bathrooms as well, as far as the paper towels and the soap, and I can't really... it's kind of surprising to see that we are actually, or the town council suggested that they're cutting more custodians in their approved budget. So I don't think this is a lack of people wanting to do their job. I just don't think we have enough people to do their job. But at what point do we, these are basic human needs that people need throughout their day. So I don't know if we have an update on this.
I had a meeting with Mr. Nunes today, and Eric, I cannot pronounce his last name.
I'll get it if you want.
Yeah, what? The new Eric.
He's brand new.
He's literally brand new. So we had a meeting today.
Candor.
White Candor, yes. I would agree, and I was planning on bringing it up at joint leadership on Friday in terms of the amount of staff and the amount of custodians. They're in desperate need of additional custodians. So we've had some preliminary talks about what may or may not be able to be happening because of the number of custodians. So I wanted to address that with the leadership at the meeting on Friday. I was not aware of the JFK issue, so we'll be following up on that tomorrow.
Somebody just happened to mention it after they had heard the Enfield High thing. And by the way, that's also happening at JFK, which is not surprising because they're large schools and there's many bathrooms within the school. So I just thought I would...
Yep, we'll follow up on that.
Yeah. Thank you. I also wanted to mention that it is Mental Health Awareness Month, like Mr. Kober did. I think it's important to note that sometimes the strongest people and the people that smile the most are sometimes the people that are struggling the most, and you should reach out to all of your friends every now and again, maybe a friend you haven't heard from, and just a simple hello or a small pay it forward to a stranger could make a huge difference in someone's life. Ms. Griffin, I thought what you said this evening was very poignant, because I think that as adults and in society, we listen to respond and we don't listen to listen. I think we're all very guilty of that, but I think with our students, we definitely need to take a step back, especially with kids, as parents, as, central office staff, as teachers, as administrators. I'm going to have a lot more to say about our budget when we actually discuss it in a couple weeks, but I just wanted to speak a little bit tonight that in regards to the budget, all the parents, community members, and especially the students that have come out to advocate for full funding. Thank you for your efforts. There are people that are listening. It is important to stay engaged and come out and vote in November. I'd like to thank the Democratic town councilors who have been advocating for our full budget ask since February. A few comments regarding the budget discussion, and I put discussion in quotes, as this was 4 hours of what I felt was Republican grandstanding on how much disdain and misinformation they have regarding public education. What I didn't like was it showed an utter disconnect with community, parents, and caregivers. I felt parents were being shamed. Caregivers were being shamed. I felt the comments and statements highlighted arrogance for the subject matter expertise of the superintendent and his cabinet. In my opinion, rational, informed, and responsible elected officials would have asked is, why do you need 5.57%? How will it help the behaviors we are seeing? This could have been asked instead of shaming students. Will the percent increase address the larger sizes? What supports are you adding that can help with test scores? Will the supports be adequate for the needs of our students? Not 4 hours of public shaming of staff, students, and families, and basically putting our superintendent through an inquisition, which you did very well, by the way, because you have facts in front of you. And oftentimes at town council meetings, we hear them say, well, it's, we'll depend on the subject matter expert. But when it comes to the Board of Education, there's our subject matter expert, and along with the cabinet. But for whatever reason, the Board of Ed is treated completely different. I also don't think that the Republican Town Council is doing us a solid by giving us enough to bring potentially 16 staff members back when the first budget only asked for 11. going back, I don't think that first budget should have been presented that way, but hindsight's 2020. I think I learned my lesson after 14 years. You continue to learn. The budget right out of the gate should have been based on the reasonable needs of the district after the historic gutting, not a bare-bone, unsustainable budget request. But I also want people to understand this. Not only is the town not investing in education with the BOE budget, but they are also showing more neglect on the buildings the students and staff are in. For example, the reason why integrated is not in Stowe is because we lost 2 Stowe classrooms due to water leaks in the ceiling. So those 2 classrooms are already at Enfield Street School. We're having issues at Henry Barnard with a flue and a plumbing issue, the Parkman roof. We're doing this modernization effort because we can't afford what needs to be fixed. Water pouring in from windows, roofs, lack of upkeep, unmowing, painting, etc. Like I said, in the proposed TC budget, they're cutting 4 custodians. This is what happens when you don't properly maintain buildings by fiscally maintaining a capital improvement budget. This is not fiscal responsibility. There is a constant robbing Peter to pay Paul, and we seem to be the ones on the receiving end of that. This can has been kicked down the road and it has hit a wall. Our kids are going to suffer again. And not only are they going to suffer, they're going to have water pouring in on them and roof issues. And what happens if there's more issues with leaks and kids have to be displaced? I'll have more to say about this, but I think it's important that we see the bigger picture. Like Amanda said, we stay engaged and we ask ourselves how we get here, because people like to talk about the 2 years that we were in charge, but we don't get here in 2 years. We've gotten here over 20 years. And there are teachers that are looking at other districts and they're like, what if they start doing what Enfield did? Enfield's an anomaly. We historically underfund our Board of Ed budget, I think more than anybody. But a glimmer, like Amanda says, thankful for our staff that they remain diligent and keep our kids competitive and make sure our kids are right where they need to be year after year on bare bones. That's not fair to them, but it's important that they do that for us. So I'll have more to say about the budget because that budget is not giving us half the supports we need, and it's just very frustrating. And lastly, I don't think that you could have presented that budget any better with more explanations. You gave the people that wanted a detailed budget exactly what they wanted. I don't think they looked at it. It was available since February, and they still voted no. They still voted no. So I don't know what it takes to get a full Board of Ed budget asked around here, especially because not only did you present the budget with the ask, but the cause and effect of it. So I think that I appreciate all your efforts on that, and there's nothing more that you could have done to get that budget passed. Thank you.
Anybody else? Mr. Gauss?
I'd just like to, and obviously I wasn't here at the last meeting, I'd just like to say thank you for everyone for supporting me in the last few weeks. I have another week or so where I'm going to be pretty busy, and I just appreciate all your support as I deal with, my family deals with some issues at the other end of the age spectrum. And I'll be back, and I'm sure I'll probably have a lot more comments then. But I just want to say thank you.
Thanks.
Robust comments.
We're going to have a robust discussion.
Robust discussions.
It may include jazz hands.
Very good. Anybody else? Okay, so I'm just going to talk about the budget real quick. Some of the stuff Mr. Macchio already said, but although we didn't receive the 5.57 that we asked and advocated for, it's good to know that we are not going to have to lay anybody off this year, and we can start to build back a little bit. Like Mr. Macchio said last night, it looks like there could be more money coming. Sounds like it's a possibility. But they said they were going to have to move that amendment to the next council meeting. So I don't know. They're all going to have to vote on that. But if they do that, that might increase our MBR a little bit more. And if that happens, hopefully you can keep getting more staff in. So I just want to thank the council for coming up as far as they did. And I really want to thank all the people that came out and advocated and spoke about the school budget. I know it's definitely not easy at all to sit there and advocate for what you want. It's sometimes hard to sit here and do that. But it helped, because I can say that it was definitely quite the fight last week in deliberations. And I was very nervous for quite a while there that we wouldn't even get close to what we asked for. I commend Mr. Macchio and Ms. Cisneros for remaining calm in an extremely tense situation, being grilled question after question, and providing as much detail as Mr. Macchio did shows that the command that he has over the information in our budget. There were a handful of statements made that evening that were incorrect from others about Enfield Public Schools. Most times it was thrown into a laundry list of other comments and questions, so it was hard to answer everything, because it was like 20 questions deep. But to compare Enfield to South Windsor is comparing two vastly different communities. Like for busing, I'm pretty sure that we have more actual mileage that we have to cover in our routes, which drives up the costs. And obviously, we're currently working for next year routes and capacity of the buses. So we're trying to maximize efficiencies and savings there. Mr. Macchio, he had the state per pupil that he showed me, and they pay more and their mill rate's lower. But I'm assuming that's probably due to the fact that their median home price, which I looked up today, is about $400,000, and Enfield's is about $320,000. And then look at all the commercial and retail development that they have there, bringing in revenue too. And then continuing on my Google search for South Windsor, approximately 70% of kids there live with two parents, as compared to Enfield's 55% of kids living with two parents. The median household income on the Google in Enfield is $86,880. The median household income in South Windsor is $126,996. So just by those quick stats alone, you can easily tell that Enfield families are dealing with a much different set of variables South Windsor families are dealing with a much different set of variables than Enfield families are. And all of those variables play into every facet of the public school system, which we are tasked with accommodating all students from any situation every day, and tasked with ensuring that every child, all 4,600 of them, their needs get met. And then Hartford Choice, we had that as part of the budget presentation. The info's there. They reimburse the cost of the student, and if they have special needs, it is 100% reimbursed for all of the services. And then don't forget the ever confusing high needs versus special needs. If the state is classifying them as high needs, they can be free and reduced lunch, English language learners, or special needs, or any combo of all of that. So it would not surprise me if most choice students were high needs. I mean, our own stats, 47% free and reduced lunch, 22% special needs, 4% English language learners. Doesn't surprise me if most of our Hartford Choice kids fall under the veil of high needs. So I'm going to stop there, but if we're going to make comparisons, we need to compare similar things. We usually compare at least the state level towns in the same DIRG, which is the district reference group, to get a better comparison. So we should probably look towards, Manchester or East Hartford, stuff like that. But is our school system perfect? No. Do we have our issues that we are working on step by step? Yes. Do we have room to grow? Yes. Do we do amazing things happen here? Absolutely. Do we have successful students doing awesome things every day? You saw it tonight. Absolutely. There's no magic wand to wave and all the problems of society get solved. And Enfield is all of a sudden in the top 10 schools, because let me tell you, I love that. But it also takes a village. And sitting through all these meetings and talking to lots of people, we have a solid village here. And actually, we're working on a campaign right now through ETC and social services, Get to Know Your Neighbor. And I'm hoping that that's a step in the right direction to bring back the community that we once had before COVID happened, when a lot more people fought a lot less, and a lot more than now were active in helping our community. But anyways, I just hope that we can consistently keep building brick by brick, success by success, no matter how big or small, here at Enfield Schools. So I'm gonna give you my glimmers. Buzz Robotics, they're having an open house at the Annex on Thursday, the 22nd, from 6:30 to 8:30. You can come anytime and stay as long as you like. Go in door 8 off of Moody Road, and there'll be signs. I wanted to congratulate Mr. Macchio for being chosen to be a member of the CAPS Executive Board for our region. So good luck.
Nominated. No,
Yes,
not-
right. So good luck
okay.
on you being approved for that nomination. I also wanted to congratulate the JFK and Enfield High students who competed in Connecticut History Day. This year, Enfield had 13 students make it to states, 4 of whom were high school students, and the first time since 2012 an exhibit from JFK placed at the state level. See, these are all the amazing things our kids are doing. This is even better. Kudos to our boys lacrosse coach and team for being shining examples of compassion and sportsmanship by allowing a player from the opposing team with autism score, making his season and giving him and his family a priceless memory. So that's all I had. Anybody else? No? Okay, so let's move on. Next, new business. No, unfinished business, sorry. Policy revisions, second reading. Ms. Cushman.
Policy 5113, attendance, truancy, and chronic absenteeism. Though much more succinct than our current policy, this proposed new policy from Shipman simply directs the administration to adopt and maintain regulations and procedures that align our district with state law. For the sake of transparency, the extensive regulations were included in our packet for the board and the community. The forms on pages 17 on in these regulations are merely in draft form, as they will be modified to take advantage of the new EduClimber software and the Parent Square attendance program that the district will be deploying this summer. Parents and students will see these updated forms and more detailed information on attendance requirements in their school handbooks starting this fall. Though the regulations were included in our packet, it is only the policy on which we will be voting. And while the current policy number is being maintained, the title and text of this proposed policy, if passed, will fully replace our current one. I would like to make a motion to approve the second reading of Policy 5113, attendance, truancy, and chronic absenteeism.
All right, motion made by Ms. Cushman. I need a second. Second by Ms. Acree. Any discussion? Mr. Kober?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I made the bulk of my comments at the first reading of this, so I kind of just stand by that. I know I had some discussion with some other board members, and I know there is some palatability that we would like to see, like finalized administrative regulations, either with a timeline or maybe closer to the second reading. So I did just kind of want to state that as maybe a goal, if we can't get it at this one, for future policies to kind of maybe accelerate or have a definitive timeline when we can start seeing those administrative regulations get finalized and then published.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Kober. Anybody else? Ms. Pickett?
I want to thank Phil. Him and I had a conversation after our last meeting about where we align around understanding kind of the admin regs, especially when the policy is very brief and concise. And so I think the struggle I have here is I understand that our administrative team needs some time to complete the regs, but it's hard for me to vote on a policy that's only really a few sentences saying that we're going to follow state law and takes out all of that language that used to be in the policy. That really is the important stuff. That's really about our student rights and how things work. So I am just asking as we move forward, and I know this is challenging, but in order to understand if our policies are going to be very brief, having admin regs at least by the second reading to be able to see what those look like would help me feel more confident in my voting around policies.
That's a fair statement. All right. Anybody else? Okay, roll call, please, Kathy.
Mr. Ryder,
Yes.
Mrs. Acree,
Yes.
Dr. Callen,
Yes.
Mrs. Cushman,
Yes.
Mr. Gauss,
Yes.
Mr. Kober,
No.
Mrs. LeBlanc,
No.
Mrs. Pickett,
No.
Chairwoman Riley.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. New business. A, repeal BOE policies. Ms. Cushman.
So with the approval of the second reading of Policy 5113, the attendance, truancy, and chronic absenteeism, Policy 5113.2, truancy, is being proposed to be repealed since it would be obsolete, containing much of the information now found in the updated policy and administrative regulations of Policy 5113. I would like to make a motion to repeal Policy 5113.2, truancy.
Motion made by Ms. Cushman.
Second?
Second by Ms. Acree. Any discussion on this? Okay, sensing none, roll call, Kathy.
Mr. Ryder,
Yes.
Mrs. Acree,
Yes.
Dr. Callen,
Yes.
Mrs. Cushman,
Yes.
Mr. Gauss,
Yes.
Mr. Kober,
Yes.
Mrs. LeBlanc,
Abstain.
Mrs. Pickett,
Abstain.
Chairwoman Riley.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, item B, approve STAFE grad donations for the graduating class of 2025. All right, so,
There's the civility one.
oh,
There's
sorry.
one more repeal, yep.
Made a motion
My
for
bad.
one, right?
Yeah, I did.
Just, right, clarification, you only read the one number for the
Right,
policy,
yeah,
so you need to
because-
do it again for the second policy, or no?
Yes, well, actually, because after some discussion, we're going to make a different motion instead of repealing that one. We were going to make a motion to table it. And for the reason being, well, do you want me to go through and make the formal motion first?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So though Policy 5145.54, civility, is listed in our packet under the heading Policies Being Repealed and Obsolete, it would seem more fitting to address this policy once the Policy Committee brings updated Policy 5131, Student Conduct and Discipline, to the full board for a first and second reading. So I'd like to actually make a motion to table Policy 5145.54, civility.
Okay.
Second?
Motion made by Ms. Cushman, second by Ms. Acree. Discussion. Ms. Pickett.
Thank you for that clarification, Janet. I think it would be helpful for me to see the student conduct and discipline policy, because my concern is some of the motives around repealing this civility policy in particular. I think civility is a concept that we can all agree on. I'm concerned mostly because this policy sits with protections for our most vulnerable students. I interpret this policy to be directly around civility and talking about race, gender, and ability. It directly is connected to our Title VI and Title IX policies. So unless those protections are explicit in the new constructed student conduct and discipline policy, I would be strongly opposed to removing this.
Go ahead.
Well, and just to give you an idea of how we even opened up this particular policy, because when we first started, when Shipman provided the crosswalk to the district of what policies they would recommend that we had, where there was the agreement, what policies they would recommend that we didn't have, and then which policies we had, but that wasn't part of theirs. So there was the three different areas. So our initial priority was to look at the ones that they were recommending that we didn't have, it didn't appear to have. And so once we closed that and we addressed all of those, then we began to look at, well, which ones are they considering the extras that they don't necessarily recommend, but we have on our books. And so what we are finding as we are reading the civility policy, it was making reference to the student conduct and discipline policy throughout it. And so we were finding that there was a lot of overlap. So that was, and so it just seems more fitting to wait until we're ready to bring that one as updated through the Shipman Policy Service.
I completely agree.
Address that, so.
thank you for this discussion, Janet, and I completely agree. Actually, I remember when the civility policy came to the board, and I was concerned about like the interpretation and stuff of it. So I think I appreciate this streamlining, more effective, more efficient. Our policy binder is just way too big. I don't know how you can make regulations for 8 zillion policies, so I appreciate a streamlined process. I'm just going to make it really explicit here on the mic and for those in policy subcommittee, when we're looking at student conduct and discipline policy, that we make really sure that our most vulnerable students, particularly those under Title VI and Title IX, are explicitly protected and supported through those processes.
Anybody else? Okay. Roll call, please.
Mr. Ryder.
To table.
Mr. Ryder.
To table.
To table.
4, yes.
Mrs. Acree.
Yes.
Dr. Kalnin.
Yes.
Mrs. Cushman.
Yes.
Mr. Gauss.
Yes.
Mr. Kober.
Yes.
Mrs. LeBlanc.
Yes.
Mrs. Pickett.
Yes.
Chairwoman Riley.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. All right, now I'm going to move on to B.
Kathy, I apologize. I thought a
That's
table
okay.
was a handbag. I got confused and pressed for a word.
I had to double check.
Okay, approve safe grad donations for the graduating class of 2025. So last year, we approved donating $1,000 to Enfield High School Safe Grad Committee to help defray some of their costs with the event. We've done this forever and ever that I can remember. So we would like to do it again. So I would need a motion to donate $1,000 to the Enfield High School Safe Grad Committee.
So moved. Second.
Motion made by Mr. Ryder, second by Ms. LeBlanc. Any discussion? Mr. Coburn.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So while recognizing the hard work that goes into creating a safe and fun environment for graduating high school seniors, I individually have my reservations on continuing our precedent of donating to an optional event that might not have full 100% student participation. It would seem reasonable that ample fundraising and student activity funds are more than sufficient to cover the cost of this committee and event. And moreover, given the delicate state of the BOE budget and the fact that we are taxpayer funded, I would probably demur from just approving solicitations and donations in general. So I will be in opposition to this.
Okay, anybody else?
Just as an FYI, they do provide graduating signs. Safegrad provides graduation signs for every student graduating. And also.
And every student's invited. to
And every
participate.
student's invited.
Every graduating senior, yes.
Anybody else? Okay, roll call, please, Kathy.
Mr. Ryder.
Yes.
Mrs. Acree.
Yes.
Dr. Kalnin.
Yes.
Mrs. Cushman.
Yes.
Mr. Gauss.
Yes.
Mr. Kober.
No.
Mrs. LeBlanc.
Yes.
Mrs. Pickett.
Yes.
Chairwoman Riley.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right. Item C, approve Lester J. Bodley Memorial Scholarship recipients. You want to elaborate on this one, Mr. Macchio?
Thanks. Since 2004, the Board of Ed announced the recipients of the Lester J. Bodley Memorial Scholarship at a board meeting. Scholarships awarded each year to a male and a female graduating student from the high school, and donations are permissible under the town charter. You have in your packet information provided by the Enfield High School Common Application Selection Committee. And because of student confidentiality, we're recommending that the students are referred to as Student A and Student B instead of announcing their names publicly. The Enfield Board of Ed can take action deemed appropriate to award the 2025 Lester J. Bodley Memorial Scholarships for Student A and Student B, as we were presented in your packet.
So I need a motion to approve awarding the Lester Bodley Memorial Scholarship for Student A and Student B.
So moved.
Second.
All right, motion made by Mrs. LeBlanc, second by Mr. Ryder. Any discussion?
Does a town budget contribute to this?
I don't know the answer to that.
No, this is Board of Education. This is on our side of the
On our
tracks.
side of the budget.
Yep.
Anybody else? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Ryder?
Yes.
Mrs. Acree?
Yes.
Dr. Kalnin?
Yes.
Mrs. Cushman?
Yes.
Mr. Gauss?
Yes.
Mr. Kober?
Yes.
Mrs. LeBlanc?
Yes.
Mrs. Pickett?
Yes.
Chairwoman Riley?
Yes.
Motion passes.
And just for clarification, we keep it student A and student B here because obviously the award ceremony hasn't happened yet, and we want it to be a surprise for them. So. Well, I know.
Another nice way of saying confidentiality.
Yes. Okay. Well, I just didn't want everybody to think it was like a super secret because of something crazy. It's just, they haven't had the award ceremony yet. Okay, discussion and action regarding the Apple Technology Replacement Plan. All right. Do you want to elaborate on this one?
So, as you remember, Dr. Wiley presented you with the multi-year technology replacement plan back in late January. That plan begins with the replacement of all iPads in grade 6 through grade 12. And basically, before we can move forward with that, the lease purchase agreement requires board's authorization and approval of the execution and delivery of the master lease purchase agreement. You have in your packet 3 different items. You have the amortization schedule, so basically how we plan on breaking out the payments over time. You have the equipment information in terms of the number of devices that are to be purchased through this lease agreement. And then lastly, you have the 2019 master lease purchase agreement. Now that may seem strange, but they always reference you back to the first lease purchase agreement that the Board of Education made back in 2019. You don't need to re-enter it. Nothing's changed about it. It just references back to it. So for your information that you have in there, you can see the payments, and just to break them out for you, get to that page quickly. The first payment of $325,716.30 is scheduled to be made June 30th, and that's going to be coming out of your district technology activity account. So that is not Board of Education funds. It's not through the appropriation. It's from the built-up technology activity fund that's grown over time. The second payment in the amortization schedule is an estimate. And we went with a low number here. So that $165,000 is a conservative estimate of the amount of money we will receive back when we sell back the iPads that we collect. So if it happens to be larger than that, we can submit more, or we would take the balance and put it into the district activity account for technology, and then we could utilize it in the future just the same way we did this year. Payment 3, 4, and 5 would be items that we will have to start building into the budget for future years.
Okay.
Questions related to the schedule?
Ms. Pickett.
I just want to clarify, so this is only a schedule for devices for 6 through 12. Will there be plans for PK5? I'm trying to remember that really great presentation that Dr. Wiley did, but I'm just thinking budgetary-wise, thinking this is just 6 through 12 devices.
Right. So over time, there is a plan for the pre-K through 12. Basically, what we did is we broke it up half and half, and we tried to separate it out because of the number of years. We tried to sort of separate them out so that there will be off years, so that other technology could be purchased in the years where we're not needing to have that additional payment for the lease purchase agreement. Really, in the grand scheme, we're going to be looking at when both lease purchase agreements are happening at the same time. The total lease payment would be around $540,000 because you're going to have 2 of them happening overlapping years. But then there'll be years where there's only 1 payment that needs to be made, and then the balance, we're going to sort of continue that steady funding rate, but the balance would be used to replace the Apple TVs, the other technology devices that we have in the district, rather than trying to go out and bring in additional funding for those.
Thank you. I just also want to point out that we got all of this equipment, or the majority of this equipment, with nice one-time COVID funds, and many districts and towns are in a place of thinking about how do we sustain technology long-term. So I appreciate the work that Dr. Wiley and you and Cabinet did to think about long-term planning and including this in our budgeting process and thinking about how do we sustain technology. So thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, so I need a motion to approve the execution and delivery of a master lease purchase agreement, specifically Schedule Number 3 to the master lease purchase agreement for one-to-one devices as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Pickett, second by Mr. Gauss. Any other discussion? Mr. Kober?
So I know we previously had our presentation on the tech replacement plan, and I think the superintendent did a good job finding a cost-effective cycle. I know personally I'm still on the fence about kind of just the overall sustaining and maintaining of the one-to-one device student ratio, more specifically at the PK through 5 grade levels, where devices probably aren't taken home as much, and then tethering into like broader discussion on screen time and stuff for younger learners and stuff like that. So, I would like to see kind of an adjusted option where maybe we didn't necessarily always have that one-to-one, but at this point, I know this is kind of where we're at, so just want to state that.
Thank you, Mr. Kober. Anybody else? Okay, roll call, please, Kathy.
Mr. Ryder?
Yes.
Mrs. Acree?
Yes.
Dr. Kalman?
Yes.
Mrs. Cushman?
Yes.
Mr. Gauss?
Yes.
Mr. Kober?
No.
Mrs. LeBlanc?
Yes.
Mrs. Pickett?
Yes.
Chairwoman Riley?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, item E.
Chairwoman Riley, I'd like to make a motion to move item 11E to after item 17.
Okay, motion to move 11E to after item number 17, executive session, made by Mr. Ryder.
Second.
Second by Ms. Pickett. Any discussion? Mr. Kober?
No, I was going to say.
Oh, okay. All right. Show of hands to approve moving the item. All right, 9 in favor, 9 against. Okay, thank you, Mr. Ryder. All right, board committee reports, curriculum committee.
Yes, the next meeting is May 22nd at 5 o'clock in Ms. Middleton's office.
Okay, finance budget committee.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. So the Finance and Budget Committee last met on Monday, May 5th. Approval of accounts and payroll for the month of April will be read in later tonight during agenda item 15. During the Finance and Budget Committee, we reviewed the FY25 budget status. So just to go over that, the current year appropriation of $77,429,555 with actual year-to-date expenditures, we're looking at $63,367,539.45, with projected encumbrances left, or total projected encumbrances, including expenditures, at $75,399,341.53. So at this rate, we're looking at a end-of-year surplus variance of $2,024,073. During this budget meeting, we also reviewed our quarterly nutrition reports from our director. There'll be more to follow in some board meetings regarding healthy food certification and possible changes to meal prices. We also mentioned the district is looking into, for a non-lapsing fund, opening up a type of specific account to donate that, or to, not to donate, to keep that funded. Yeah, a place for that. And pending any questions, that's all I got.
Could I just add a little clarification because of the first payment? Because the Finance Committee meeting was before we sent that first payment down to the town hall for the MOU. So that money was not included in the balance. So that drops us below the $2 million anticipated.
Okay.
Oh, and actually, the last thing, our next finance meeting is Monday, June 2nd at 5 p.m.
Okay. I just wanted to add on that, that board members just make sure that you read the recommendation from, for the healthy food certification in the weekly update, because Nutrition Services is asking for a change of what we've done in a long time. So if you have any questions, send them to Mr. Macchio, ideally before Friday, so that he could get you some answers in the weekly update. But if not, sometime over the weekend, sometime before the next meeting. So Diane can have answers to questions in case some things require extra research or whatever. Because I know changing things is sometimes has a lot of questions. So
And she is planning on attending the next board meeting, so she'll be able to also answer questions for general public that you may have.
Yep. Okay. Next is Policy Committee.
Our next policy meeting will be held next week, Tuesday, May 20th at 5:30.
All right. Leadership Committee. We just had leadership last week. We discussed this month's agendas, the budget process moving forward from where we are, as well as the letter that went out to the school community. The next meeting is June 4th. So, liaison reports, school reports, and updates. Anybody want to go first? Mr. Kober.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll do my usual shout out to Henry Barnard, friends and family. Just a friendly reminder, tomorrow, Wednesday, May 14th, will be Family Music Night with Miss Renee. Also be advised that Barnard grade 2 students will have the opportunity to visit Crandall. This visit will happen on Thursday, May 22nd. More information should have been sent home regarding that. Also, a friendly reminder, Field Day will be Thursday, May 29th, with a rain date of June 2nd. And we hope to see maximum participation. And always usual, keep an eye on Parent Square for any school-specific updates. Thank you.
All right. Who would like to go next? Mr. Ryder?
Okay, I have some notes from the Whitney Wolves. So our 5th graders are going to be touring JFK tomorrow. Our 5th graders heading off to JFK in the fall will get a chance to see the building and get some familiarity with the layout and where things are. Obviously, students may have been there for different public events, but maybe perhaps only in the gym or auditorium, so this will give them a chance to get a sense of the school and how it lays out differently from their own building. Also, as a reminder to all 5th graders across the district, not just Eli Whitney, this Friday is the Youth Center's 5th grade dance. Registration is required. You can make a $5 payment at the door, and that gets you in and some snacks that they'll be serving. Also at Eli Whitney specifically, our Scholastic Book Fair will be next week on Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, with a family shop night and a picnic on Thursday evening from 5:30 to 7:30. So I hope you can join us for that. Their field day is May 28th. I will be there DJing. I'll be on tour again, doing, I think, at least 4 schools this year, maybe more. It depends on rain dates. They're having a year-end assembly on Monday, June 9th. Parents, you'll be receiving a letter if your student is receiving an award. That means you're also invited to come and participate in the year-end assembly and see what award your student may have been nominated for. The 5th grade celebration, 5th grade celebration will be that same day, Monday, June 9th, but in the afternoon. So an all-school year-end assembly in the morning and then 5th grade celebration in the afternoon. Also, 5th grade parents, if you'd like to reach out to the PTO to volunteer at any of these functions, please reach out to ewpto@yahoo.com. That is their email address. Or, of course, you can go to enfieldpto.com/Whitney if you're interested in volunteering for any of those things. And their email address is there as well as also ways to reach out to the school and the administration and anybody in the building that you need to get in touch with. But if you want to volunteer for any of those upcoming events, we'd love to have you join us. ewpto@yahoo.com. Thank you.
Mrs. Pickett?
I will just reiterate, Parent Square is busy, so families, make sure you're checking that. Lots of end-of-year events. On the 15th, there is a literacy night at Parkman. I know we were all invited. I am maybe triple booked already that night, but I'm going to try my best to pop by. Field Day at Parkman is on June 4th. As a parent of kiddos at both schools, I'm going to be try my best to make it to Field Day and get to the 2nd grade promotion on the same day that afternoon. End of year picnic at Enfield Street School is on June 3rd. Their Field Day is June 6th. I also want to shout out our PLA class that is hosting a community wellness and resource fair this Sunday, May 18th on the town green from noon to 4. They have a lot planned, over 50 vendors, food trucks, community resources. Our school-based health center providers will be there. So I encourage our community and our families to come check out that amazing event put on by families and parents in our own community.
All right, anybody else? Ms. Acree?
From Principal DePayer at Prudence Crandall, he says the students at Crandall are working hard in the last few days of completing the state Smarter Balance testing. We are looking forward to seeing how much the students have improved this year. Field Day is scheduled for Friday, May 30th. If you have signed up to volunteer, make sure you have submitted your volunteer paperwork. Also, parents, make sure you have signed the permission slip for the bounce house and the special treat. Girls on the Run, 38 students took part in the statewide program. The purpose of the program is to inspire young girls to recognize and embrace their inner strength while building social and emotional skills. A big thank you to our Girls on the Run coaches for an outstanding season. Thank you, Karen McManus, Stephanie Tulloch, Emma Smith, and Renee Michaud for all of your hard work and volunteering your time. It was worth it to see the girls having fun. Mr. Macchio made an appearance just in time for the girls to decorate his face, and Mr. DeBerry, our SSO, also came to cheer on all of the runners. PTO 5th grade yard signs. This is the last week to order your moving up to 6th grade yard sign for your 5th grader. Celebrate your child's big milestone and show your pride with a special sign for your yard. Thank you.
Anybody else? Dr. Callinan?
From Head Start on May 7th, Enfield Head. Oh, excuse me. On May 7th, Enfield Head Start completed its annual self-assessment. Discussions were focused on oral health, father figure engagement, and attendance. Preliminary themes that came out of the event are streamlining attendance practices with K-12 EPS, buildings and more opportunities to engage father figures beginning at enrollment, and continued refinement of community partnership agreements with oral health providers to ensure access for families. Recommendations are currently being reviewed and will translate into our 25-26 program improvement plan. There were over 25 participants with representatives from our families, staff, community partners, Board of Education, and Enfield Public Schools Central Office staff. And from KITE, the Juneteenth Festival will be held on June 21st on the town green. The rain date is June 22nd. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Mr. Gauss?
Okay, well, everybody has all kinds of end of the year stuff going on. So this is from JFK. They're currently having their book fair. That's happening this week. End of year field trips. Grade 6, Sunny's Place on June 4th. Grade 7, Lake Compounce on June 6th. And grade 8, High Meadows on June 5th. What else is going on? 8th grade lawn sign fundraiser. If you check on Parent Square in the newsletter, there is an online form, and it needs to be completed by May 10th. Grade 6 visits are happening this week and next week from Whitney, May 14th, Crandall, May 20th, and Parkman, May 28th. And spring concerts. Whew, lots going on. Band concert is May 22nd, orchestra concert is May 29th, and the chorus concert is June 4th. Let's see, the band, spring band, that's the same day. And that is, and chorus, I think I said chorus, didn't I? I did. All right, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gauss. Anybody else? Okay, Joint Facilities Committee.
The next meeting is scheduled for May 22nd.
Yep. Joint Insurance, we are meeting the 27th of May. We're looking forward to seeing some plan alternatives for cost savings, information on utilization, and final budget projections, as well as plan comparisons.
What time is that meeting?
That is going to be at, I believe it's going to start at 3:30, is what the time said, right? The joint insurance is at 3:30, I believe. Or is it 4?
Sorry, let me verify it because I know we just received it.
I could be thinking it's 3:30 because I have another meeting for work at 3:30 at the same time. So I was going to come after that, but. I don't think there's a meeting maker for it yet. I think it just came out in the email.
Yeah, I
And
think
that's been
the only
going.
thing that they've taught at 3.
3.
Available on the 27th at 3.
So the invite didn't come out yet?
I haven't seen the invite yet. I just
Okay.
have the email.
All right.
I can follow up with Mr. Levine. I spoke with him today about something different, so
Okay. Yeah, if we could just get for real clarification and a meeting maker when that's going to be, it'd be good.
perhaps at joint leadership I can touch base as well.
All right, joint security,
Our next meeting is scheduled for June 13th.
Enfield Mental Health Committee.
Our last meeting was held on May 7th. Present at the meeting was Mr. Longy, David White, the district's counselor coordinator, and the three K-2 principals, Jim Graham, Dr. Kristen Fitzpatrick, and Mark Lord. Our guest speaker was Elena Josephson from Child First Services. Child First is an evidence-based psychotherapy service for children up to 6 years old and their families. This particular service focuses on children who have been traumatized by experiencing a form of violence at a very young age. This is a support system for children who are exhibiting difficult behaviors or delays in their development. Child First also supports families that have many stresses, such as feeling alone or hopelessness, drug use, homelessness, and financial concerns. This program is state-funded, and families receive their services through home visits. Our next meeting for the Mental Health and Wellness Committee will not be until September. Dr. Calnan and I will create a final report about the accomplishments made by the Mental Health and Wellness Committee, and will present the report to the board at a future date.
Great, thank you, Ms. Acree. Pre-referendum committee.
I don't have any updates. Mr. Macchio gave us the focus groups, which I was going to ask about, and I believe the 19th is the due date for the RFPs. So, yeah, everything's kind of in a holding pattern right now.
Okay. All right, so moving on to 14, approval of minutes. I'm going to group them all together. So I need a motion to approve Special Board of Ed meeting minutes April 29th, 2025, the regular Board of Ed meeting minutes April 29th, 25, then the Special Board of Ed meeting minutes for May 7th, 2025. So I need a motion to approve all of those together. Motion made by Dr. Calnan. Second by Mrs. Blank. And discussion?
Yes, just one.
Mr. Ryder.
I have to abstain from the May 7th meeting. I was unable to attend for family reasons. I'm for the first two, hands up, but abstaining on the third.
Okay,
Since you're grouping them, I wanted
Okay.
to point that out.
that sounds good. Yes, Dean.
And for similar reasons, I have to abstain on the 29th.
The regular and the special.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry for the curveballs, Madam Chair, but
Okay, so show of hands to approve all of them except for Mr. Gauss and Mr. Ryder.
and we'll flip-flop, Dean.
Yeah. All right, Kathy, got that? Good, okay. Okay, so item number 15, approval of accounts and payroll.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. The Finance Committee had met on May 5th to review financial documents for the month of April year-to-date and examine various documents related to finances. The review concluded there was nothing of significance to report to the full board. Motion is I move we accept the superintendent's certification as follows. Quote, I hereby certify that in the month of April, total expenditures amount to $6,341,944, broken down between payroll totaling $4,345,691.02, and all other accounts totaling $1,996,252.98. All payments have been made in accordance with the approved budget and are properly accounted for within the books of accounts. Copies of approval for check invoices are properly documented, end quote, prepared by Lorena Cisneros, Business Manager.
So motion made by Mr. Cover, I need a second.
Second.
By Ms. Acree, any discussion? Can I have a show of hands in approval? There is 8 approval, against, abstentions, 1 abstention.
All right, moving on to certification of grant and Head Start expenditures. Again, Finance Committee had met on May 5th. Motion is, I move we accept the superintendent's certification as follows. I hereby certify that in the month of April, total grant and Head Start expenditures amounted to $454,390.34, broken down between payroll totaling $382,739.58, and all other accounts totaling $71,650.76. All payments have been made in accordance with the approved budget and are properly accounted for within the books of accounts. Copies of approval for check invoices are properly documented, prepared by Lorena Cisneros, Business Manager.
Motion by Mr. Kober. I need a second.
Second.
By Ms. Acree. Any discussion? Show of hands in favor. There is 8 in favor, any against, none against, abstentions, 1 abstention.
And there are no other approvals and no transfers for this month.
Thank you, Mr. Kober. Is there any correspondence or board communications, Mr. Ryder?
Nothing that was not already included in our 59-page packet.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to need a motion to go into executive session, matters related to the superintendent's evaluation, and then we will come out and address item 11E after that. So I need a motion.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Motion to go into executive session by Mr. Kober.
Second.
Second by Mr. Ryder. Show of hands in favor. All in favor, none against. We'll come back at later. Are we ready to rock? Okay, cool. All right, so we are back after item number 17, which is discussion and action, if any, regarding the superintendent's evaluation. First I want to thank everybody who contributed and spent 3 hours last week on making all the adjustments and everything in there. I appreciate your dedication to the cause. And so I need a motion for the Board of Education to approve the superintendent's evaluation and goals for the 2025-26 school year, the salary adjustment and extension of his contract to June 30th, 2028. Furthermore, I also need to have a motion to authorize myself, the board chair, to sign the evaluation on the board's behalf.
So moved.
Motion by Dr. Kalman, second by Mr. Kober. Any discussion? Oh, Ms. Pickett?
I just wanted to thank you, Steve, for your strength in Excel, budgeting, and now strategic planning around consistent systems for our district. I do want to publicly share my hopes for commitment to that continued strategic planning, really rooted in the needs of our students, and commitment to engagement with our staff and families and our students, our most needed population whose voices need to be centered. I'm thankful that you're here. I hope that you stay for a while, and I'm thank you for the board's work on this together.
Mr. Kober?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I too would just want to thank the board for our work during the executive session, during the workshop, getting the evaluation draft ready to go. Of course, I want to thank Mr. Macchio for his efforts to the district and his extended tenure with us. And then regarding the contract extension, that is based off of the Connecticut statute where we can only have him for 3 years. So since he's been here a year, to keep him for another 3 years, or to hit that 3-year period. So look forward to, what the future holds for us.
Thank you, Mr. Comer. And I'm just going to read one of the last summary paragraphs. So, in 8 short months, Mr. Macchio has not only accomplished many things for the district, but he has also shown his willingness to learn, especially the intricacies of the relationship between the town and the Board of Education in regards to facilities and their maintenance. He continues to ask questions regarding all of the school and town processes and procedures, the whys and the hows of how Enfield operates, and provides a fresh set of eyes and new perspectives. The aforementioned goals in this review outline his performance and what the Board of Education requested and expected from him at the time of his hiring. Mr. Macchio exceeded our expectations with his budget acumen. He is well-organized, detail-oriented, a staunch advocate and leader for Enfield Public Schools. So can I have roll call, please? Mr. Longy?
Mr. Ryder?
Yes.
Mrs. Icree?
Yes.
Dr. Kalnin?
Yes.
Mrs. Cushman?
Yes.
Mr. Gauss?
Yes.
Mr. Kober?
Yes.
Mrs. LeBlanc?
Yes.
Mrs. Pickett?
Yes.
Chairwoman Riley?
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Awesome. Great. Thank you, everybody. And I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Kober, second by Ms. Pickett. All in favor? None in favor, none against. Thank you, and have a wonderful evening.